Okay, welcome to the 7th episode of Story Structure Breakdown, where we're studying the movie adaptation of George Orwell's novel 1984. Now, if you missed the last episode, just click the link in the description box below and start watching there. Today's movie clip is just a couple of minutes long, but it's filled with a lot of good stuff to talk about. And I'd like to start by talking about setting. Setting is a lot more than just a table and a chair that go into a room. Setting is also an overall climate. For example, let's take the period of the 1950s in American history. The political climate was one of conservatism and paranoia. The Americans were suspicious of the Russians and communist infiltrators in their government. Then there was the economic climate. This was a time of great growth and prosperity. Now, what is the context of this period of history? The 50s followed the war years of the 40s and the Depression years of the 1930s. So after 20 difficult years, the Americans were full of confidence. They were fat and happy, which gave rise to the social unrest of the 1960s, which is a completely different setting. So when you portray setting, you need to understand that describing the table and chairs in the room may be important, but there's also a greater psychological setting that your characters inhabit that must be portrayed. So let's see how this is done here. Okay, when we last left the main character, he had just received a love note, which he then destroys. This is done to portray the social setting within which the character lives, as we're about to see. This is a society where love is forbidden. Now we see the physical setting of a cheesy-looking, futuristic cafeteria.
The marriage committee gave us permission this morning. What did they choose for you? Comrade Bendon, the Victory Orations Department.
Now the character draws her attention to the authority figure sitting a few tables away, which gives us another brief portrayal of the social setting.
They're arranging a meeting next week.
Okay, I want to stop here a moment and talk about a couple of important and related things. The first is point of view. In this scene, we've switched to the point of view of the woman for the first time in the story. We're seeing things from her eyes rather than the main characters. Now, you always need to take point of view into consideration when you're structuring your story. Some stories are told from the first person point of view, and you can only have that point of view, the point of view of the main character, so you have limitations. But there's also a psychological closeness that the reader gets with the main character that you don't have with third person point of view. Some stories are told using third-person point of view, which allows you to portray the points of view of many different characters. So you need to choose the point of view which will serve your story the best at which time. If you'd like to learn more about point of view, click on the link in the discussion box and it'll take you to an article I wrote at enoveladvisor.com. The second thing I want to bring up is the fact that the background music in this previous scene was so loud I could barely hear the dialogue. Now, if you were writing this scene, it would be the equivalent of portraying what the characters were eating in minute detail when it didn't matter, or describing the character's clothing when it didn't matter, or writing about anything else the main character is doing that doesn't matter. It's the thing that matters in this scene is the dialogue. Now here's where this is related to choosing a point of view. Writing is like cooking, and you've got a lot of ingredients to use. You want to choose the right ones in order to achieve the goal you want. And once you've chosen the ingredients, you want to use them in the right amounts. The flavors of sweet and spicy can go great together, but you don't want one overpowering the other.
Oh, Smith, there's a seat here.
So here the writer's creating some dramatic tension because we want to find out about this woman, but are prevented by the intrusion of other characters. This is how you begin to create drama.
Smith, you haven't given me your contribution.
Which one is that?
The Hate Week.
Oh, just a minute.
Oh, we're making an all-out effort, going to put on a tremendous show. Now, who else hasn't paid? Oh, Syme here.
Here we're introduced to the idea of Hate Week, so we get a little bit more portrayal of the social setting. Here we get some random characters providing some more insight into the social setting of family life, which gives an important context for the relationship this man and woman are about to begin.
Already we've broken down the family as a unit and made it an extension of the thought police. 5 have trained children to put loyalty to the party first, without any consideration for their parents.
What time do you finish work?
1830.
Our next step is the complete abolition of the old-fashioned conception of love between man and woman. This energy must be diverted.
Where shall we meet?
50 Square, the monument.
Men and women will be conditioned
What time?
so that physical contact
1900 hours.
by a feeling of repulsion. Within 100 years from now, the sexual impulse will exist only as a symbol of duty towards the party.
So today we talked about setting, point of view, and how these literary devices, as well as others, are like ingredients in a recipe that you need to blend together so they complement each other. A cake recipe might call for a pinch of salt, but if you add a tablespoon, it's going to ruin the final product. The same is true of writing. The ingredients were not blended properly when the music drowned out the dialogue. As a writer, you want to know what is most important each time you are putting words down on paper. If dialogue is important, focus on that. If description is important, focus on that. The ingredients were blended together successfully when the main character approached the woman, but was then called away by his friend, which postpones the reader getting the answer to the plot question. This is what keeps readers reading. Then he joins the woman for lunch as we see 2 random characters talking about the social setting, which adds context and therefore drama to the relationship that this man and woman are about to begin. Now, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed and thinking that this is a lot of stuff to handle at the same time when you're writing, you're absolutely right. Don't worry. That's what rewriting is for. In the first draft, you might just have some dialogue and absolutely nothing else. In the second draft, you might add some chairs and tables to the room. In the third draft, you might decide to add some more characters to the scene. By the time you're done, you'll have a complete work of fiction. Now, if you found this video helpful, please pass it along to a friend, and while you're at it, subscribe to the channel so you can be updated when I post the next video. Until then, this is Jim from eNovelAdvisor.com, the first word on writing a novel and your last word on marketing it.
Visit eNovelAdvisor.com to publish your own novel. You really can't go wrong. Learn to write a novel and market it. You will find out how easy it is. Turn your dream of writing into reality. eNovelAdvisor has everything you need.